hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools.
Welcome to the She's So Right Show. We are two conservative women called by Christ to speak up for what's right.
Lindsey Graham, known nationally as the Patriot Barbie, is a proud author, public speaker, and brave political advocate for freedoms, rights, and conservative values.
Brandy Barkley is a powerful Christian leader and founder of Power Soul, certified Christian life coach and public speaker, forging God's battle cry to strengthen believers.
Guys, get ready to say it way more than you're used to. She's So Right starts now.
Freedom fighters, are you tired of giving your hard-earned money to big corporations who use their power against us? We are done. As conservatives, the best and most effective way to vote is with our dollars. You can shop with all our favorite companies, sponsors, and affiliates right on our website.
Go to www.shesorightshow.com and click the shop page. We are proud affiliates for MyPillow, My Patriot Supply, and other conservative brands. Get massive savings. Go to shesorightshow.com. Join us in supporting American companies. Hey, freedom fighters.
Hello, freedom fighters.
Back with the She's So Right Show. Thank you for listening. Today, we have special guest, gubernatorial candidate in California, Anthony Trimino. As a CEO and founder of one of the fastest growing privately held companies in America and contributing member of the Forbes Agency Council, Anthony has a unique approach to bringing a diverse group of people, ideas, and perspectives together to build solutions that address and overcome the complex challenges facing California. Poor Anthony. I can't believe you're doing this job.
Challenges.
You're trying to do this. Challenges facing California like the cost of living, modernization of the education system, post-statewide shutdown recovery of businesses, the homelessness crisis, healthcare, water, fire resources in all of their local communities. And Lynn's, right before we started, gave me the heads up that Anthony Trimino just went viral because he had a Super Bowl banner waving across or going across the stadium that said, "Unmask our kids." So I'm already kind of a big super fan, and we just met.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for having me. It's good to be speaking with you guys today.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thanks for coming on.
Tell us about the banner, first of all, because what gave you that idea?
Yeah, so you mentioned it a little bit. I'm an entrepreneur. I run one of the most influential ad agencies in the nation. Our work is seen in 50 countries, 20 languages. So that's my discipline, being disruptive and branding and messaging. And so I knew that I wanted a Super Bowl commercial, but I don't know if you guys know, it's $7 million for 30 seconds.
Woo!
So I was thinking, that's not a good utilization of my funds or campaign funds. How can we be just as disruptive in a different way? And because I knew all eyes would be on SoFi Stadium, because 2 weeks prior at the NFC game, our Governor Newsom and LA City Mayor were there unmasked with 75,000 people.
Yes.
And the following day, they sent our kids to school and forced them to wear masks in groups of 20. So I knew all eyes would be on the Super Bowl, and this opportunity kind of just fell in our lap. I think it was a godsend for sure. We had an opportunity to send 5 airplanes into the air and basically do a banner in the sky. And I thought, okay, what simple message could I send to our governor and to the mayor of L.A. that would speak on behalf of the kids and parents? And I thought, well, let's just keep it simple, stupid, right? And unmask our kids. And it was a simple message. It went up in the sky. It was seen as far as 25 miles away.
Wow.
And I was hoping that the people that were there would put eyes on it and the message would resonate. But it ended up being seen, like I said, 25 miles away. People started posting. It went viral. And we had a unique opportunity to give our kids a voice, to send a clear message to our elected officials that we had enough. And yeah, it went viral, and we did, for the next 7 or 8 days, we were on national and local news just advocating for our kids against the mask mandates here and the hypocritical nature of our mandates in California. And, we sent the message, and I was so excited to be part of that. And the overwhelming support continued to trickle in for about a month afterward.
That's massive. I love it. I love You're obviously really good at your job. Haha. But when you just said something, to kind of get in the face of the elected officials, do you believe that they've actually been elected, or do you think this whole thing's been rigged in California for years?
Well, I think up until the last few years, I do think these people have been elected because I think that a lot of people have been asleep. If you look at California, there's 40 million people in California, and there's only roughly about 12 million people registered to vote.
Oh,
And
wow.
so when you think about that, and then you think about the church, there's 16.9 million Christians in California, and only a third of them are actually registered to vote.
Wow.
So up until we had all this voter integrity issue, yes, I believe that people were voted into office by people that were active while everyone else slept.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe that when we kind of fast forward to the recent recall, what's happening, now across the nation, but definitely in California as well. No, I don't believe that our governor received more votes in the recall than he received when he got elected. I don't believe that. And I do believe that there's a bunch of fraud happening and voter integrity issues that's been exposed and it's been documented. So, yeah, I believe up until recent history when we realized, like in 2020, I think across the nation, we realized how much power governors actually had over the president when we went into lockdowns and all that. And I think people have been waking up. But prior to that, I think most people were asleep and people got elected and stayed in office longer than they should have because the voting population have been dormant and they've been asleep. And so we've elected officials by people that have an ulterior agenda. So, yeah, it's sad, but hopefully we can fix that.
Anthony, did Governor Newsom make any public statement about your banner? Did he even bother to try to defend himself?
Acknowledge it?
Yeah.
No, the only public statement he made was after the NFC game 2 weeks prior to Super Bowl when he got caught on camera without a mask. Garcetti got caught on camera without a mask. And the next day he held a press conference and they pushed him on it. And his response was, well, I was trying to be gracious to Magic Johnson, who asked me for a picture.
Oh, geez.
And he started to say, I made a and then he stopped and he didn't say the word mistake. He said, well, yeah, I was just trying to be gracious. And I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to that have lost loved ones in 2020 and 2021 who were not able to hold the hands of their dying grandparents because they were not allowed into the room, or how many grandparents weren't able to be present for the birth of a grandchild.
But as long as Magic Johnson gets his picture, as long as we're gracious to the multi-million-dollar athletes, right?
Yep. We can be gracious to celebrities, but apparently not to our loved ones.
Celebrity privilege.
Yeah. Ooh, let's start that hashtag.
Celebrity privilege. I was going to say that if I agree with you. In fact, that word dormant actually came up in a middle of the night for me. The Lord literally woke me up in the middle of the night and said, my people have become a doormat to this culture because the Holy Spirit within them is lying dormant and asleep. And when you just said, I believe that they were elected, but now I believe there's fraud. How confident are you now, if there's that much fraud and it's working, of being elected fairly?
So there's two things that I operate in, right? The secular and the spiritual. And so the spiritual side of me says, well, God's taken down pharaohs before. I'm not worried about Newsom. Right? If the people of California, if the church get active, get involved, start utilizing faith as a verb, meaning taking action.
Yes, sir. That's good.
I believe, and repent. I believe that God will have mercy on us, and He will give us what is needed to unseat this corrupt government. So that's the secular part of it, and I'm fully trusting in God showing up and the church showing up. The secular part and the logical part for people that ask me is really about voter integrity. How do you think you're going to get a fair shake? Well, I don't necessarily think we're going to get a fair shake, but Virginia was a perfect example of what could happen when you do two things. Number one, people come out in masses and they vote, and two, people stand watch and get involved in the voting process. So assuming that Californians can actually get involved either work the polls or volunteer to oversee the polls. There's 23,200 locations in California. If we can get 1 or 2 people at every voting location, that will significantly minimize the amount of fraud that takes place. It will not eliminate it, but it will significantly minimize it. So that, us taking action in the secular, us believing in the spiritual, will absolutely produce an outcome that is going to be unexpected by many and send shockwaves through the nation.
Well, and hopefully the government underestimating the power of the people, underestimating how far our reach is getting this message out, because people are waking up and they are spreading the message, and underestimating the power of God and what he can do and what miracles he can create.
But you know what? I love what you just said, that, well, there are 2 aspects to it, and I think as the church, I like to hold the church accountable here, feet to the fire, like you said, repenting and getting active. We just had this conversation last week with one of our guests about using your talents, using your gifts, using what's in your hands. God isn't calling us to use something we don't have. And, when I hear of Christians that aren't voting, I think to myself, do you know how many people around the world wish that they had that option, live under communist rule and wish and prayed and are living under oppression? That what a gift that would be to have that right and to not be using it. To me, that is a sin. To me, that is a sin, that God has given us this freedom and this beautiful nation founded by these godly men. And for us to sit in apathy and act like, oh, we're always just going to be cool, it's kind of gross.
All the while complaining about what's going on in America. I'm encouraging moms all the time to vote with your dollars. Boycott these businesses and these corporations that are woke, that are indoctrinating our kids, that are donating money to BLM and Planned Parenthood. Okay, so that's one course of action. The other course is to get off your butt and register to vote and vote. And if you're not willing to do the research, talk to someone who's done the research and get out there and do this teeny, tiny, simple thing that if millions and millions of people did it, and we do believe that it would change America. And you know what? We've got to talk about, when we get back, activating the church and the whole politics and Christianity not mixing and all of that bogus stuff. So, and Anthony, it sounds like you're probably have a lot to say about that.
Perfect guest for this.
So when we get back, we're going to talk about that. You guys are listening to the She's So Right show with guest Anthony Trimino, gubernatorial candidate in California. We will be right back.
I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the She's So Right show. Follow us on Instagram at She's So Right show. Today we have Anthony Trimino, gubernatorial candidate in California. He's quickly earning our vote. Very quickly.
Fortunately, actually, we can't live and vote in California, but this podcast can be played in California.
That's right.
And we have a lot of, we're real close. We're just over that little border, and it's, what?
What's her butt? Marina can vote for Anthony. She lives in California.
We have friends
We've got friends in California. So when we left off, we started talking about, you actually started talking about how there's 40 million people in California, only 12 million are registered to vote, and out of those 12 million, only a third of Christians, are in the church, are even registered to vote. So Brandy and I have talked about this over and over again, how appropriate it is for churches to be taking a stand in politics on candidates, because the policies that are being voted in, the candidates that support the policies that are being voted in, they are defining the future of America, which is the country that Christians live in, whether you like it or not. You have a role to play. And Christians, we have morals, we have values, we have beliefs that come from the Bible, that come biblically, that come from the Holy Spirit. If you think that you don't have a role to play in laws that are being drawn up that violate your beliefs and morals, that's a pretty dense thought process. But that's, babies being killed in the mother's room or not, I don't really want to get political. Excuse me, that's not political. That's Christianity. That's fighting the devil. So, Anthony, what do you think about churches needing to step up, especially in California?
Get activated.
Yeah.
I think we need to take your audience to church for a second because I have a lot to say on this.
Sounds good to me.
Oh,
They love
yeah.
it. Ooh, they love them some Jesus.
We're gonna have a little bit of church right now.
Deal.
So I've always said when I speak, I tell everybody, I say, look, the future of our state, our country, rests firmly on the shoulders of the church. The church absolutely needs to get activated and needs to get involved. And so here's the deal. When I think about what's happening in California and the heavy lift that it's going to be to remove Newsom, and we think about across the nation, the discouragement that happens with regards to people not wanting to even vote, get registered, they think their vote doesn't matter. I have conversations with non-believers all the time, and they say things like, look, our voting system's corrupt, and you'll never unseat Newsom. He's too powerful, too strong, too much backing. So when a non-believer talks like that, I don't really spend a lot of time debating them because they don't understand that this is not political. This is about good and evil, light and darkness. So I don't really spend a lot of time there. But I do, and I don't even have a problem with them being doubtful because they're non-believers. But I have a problem when the church starts talking like that. When the church starts doubting, the church starts being discouraged. I often tell people that are from the church, I'm like, do you believe in God and do you read the Bible? And they say, absolutely. I say, okay, great. Well, let me ask you something. So you believe an omnipresent God created the heavens and the earth just by speaking them into existence. You believe that. You believe a whale swallowed a man and spit him out, that a man survived a lion's den, that 3 men were put into a furnace so hot that the men that were pushing them in there actually got consumed by fire, but then they were able to walk out, not even their clothes were burned. You believe that a few loaves fed a multitude, that the blind can see, the lame can walk, that a man hung on a cross, died, was buried, resurrected, and walked out of that tomb. You believe all of those stories, but you do not believe we can take back our schools, our cities, our counties, our state, and our nation? Come on. The church needs to start walking in the authority of heirs to the throne, and we don't. And that's why we're in this mess. The church absolutely needs to get activated, needs to get involved, and it's the responsibility of the church to change the trajectory of the country.
Amen. That was a great church service.
Yes.
I got goosebumps.
Me too. And, this is a big thing, big thing, that Jesus died to give us authority over our enemy, and not just at death, not just in the next life. It starts the minute you acknowledge that you're his child. Where there is a righteousness put on you, there is a crown in the spirit world on your head. And I'm always like, if you walked in the truth that you say you believe, if you walked in that truth, the authority and the power of that would change. You would change rooms by walking into them. And if more of the Christians, and this is where I get pushback a lot, Anthony, as a Christian in this realm, is we've been taught in church to be nice, to everything's compassion, and this is the thing. Nowhere in the Bible does it say to be nice and complicit with sin, with evil. We can be compassionate, like you said. If someone doesn't believe, that conversation, there's no foundation for that conversation. But when someone believes and they aren't walking it out, I have to question, first of all, their true belief. And secondly, the church is falling short in teaching people the power and the authority in the Spirit of God, in the Holy Spirit that we've been given. They're not having these conversations. They're sitting lukewarm, hoping that this is going to blow over and they can flip through the Bible and not ruffle any feathers and not lose any checks. And I'm saying, I have been to many churches through the last 2 years, visited many churches. There was 2 speaking truth, maybe 3 speaking truth, where people might not, they're like, oh, they're getting political. This is called the condition of our world that we're living in. And for churches and for pastors to hide their head in this, to me, is a disgrace. And I think we as Christians need to start holding our church leaders, feet to the fire here. And everything you just said, I wish we could put that on the mountaintop, and we should be. And I think that's why Lindsay and I, as Christian women, getting that pushback, we feel more compelled than ever. Every time we have this conversation, there aren't enough people having it as believers.
You're going to have to put that whole thing on a banner behind an airplane next Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's a long banner.
We need a bigger banner, okay?
We do, yes. Good thing I wrote it in the sky. There's plenty of room up there.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Are you going to, being forthcoming in your faith on the campaign trail, are you, is that part of your campaign
Platform, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't hide it at all. I basically tell people that when you think about what's happening in California, people are running from the left, they're running from the right, and they're headed to the middle because they're done with politics. And what they're seeing is that neither party ultimately has at least in California, their best interests at heart. It's very political here, and people right now are in desperate need of somebody to champion quality of life. And for everybody right now in California, they're defining quality of life as conservative values. Hey, don't tell me, that I cannot worship, whatever religion I am. Don't tell me I cannot go to church. Don't tell me I can't sing in church. Don't attack my kids at school. Don't oppress my bodily autonomy. And so what's happening is people are starting to stand up for the family. They understand there's an attack on the family. And so they're redefining their values. They happen to align with conservative values. Conservative values are built off biblical principles. So when I go out and I speak about my biblical views and principles, it's aligning with what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And they ultimately know that what we're living through in California and across the nation really is the absence of God, that man is trying to remove God, not just from government, but from schools. The government's trying to remove God from family. And so what people need desperately now, especially in times of trouble, is that relationship with God and somebody who is speaking on truth. And so it's not hard for me to go and speak truth.
We got to take a break real quick. We don't want you to lose any thought. Hold on to that, and we'll be right back.
I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
Welcome back, guys, to the She's So Right show, and girls, male and female. Hello out there. We are talking. Yeah,
Aren't you going to include all the genders?
Nope, just
what
the two.
happened?
Just the two.
Okay.
Just God happened. That's what happened.
God happened.
Genesis happened. So we've been talking about, because Anthony is obviously a Christian and his campaign is, based on his faith, which I think is amazing.
Based in truth.
This is a parable that was read in church this last weekend, and I think this is amazing because it applies to exactly what we're talking about, which is how can anyone get a fair vote in this country? And one thing that Anthony said, which I loved, was the future of our country rests on the shoulders of the church. God's taken down pharaohs before. I'm not worried about Newsom. That's amazing. Well, in the parable in Mark, a furious squall came up and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Jesus got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." The wind died down and was completely calm. And he said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" And I feel like that is the message for Christians right now in this politically, in everything, the schools, the masks, the Disney crap, the indoctrination, everything is like, guys, yes, Brandy and I are on the radio speaking up about this. Yes, we need to fight, and we need to fight hard. Yes, we need to use our dollars and cast our votes. But also, I'm not afraid. I don't live in fear. It's like he tells the wind, calm down, and then he looks at them and go, really? Like, I can do this. Why are you, we're going to die. You've got Jesus in your boat. We don't have Jesus in the boat, but we know that he's here. And I don't ever want him to look at me and say, you still have no faith? Yeah. Really?
Well, in perfect love, his perfect love for his people casts out all fear. And this, why so little faith, I think goes back to where people are, what you focus on magnifies. And people, they want us distracted and focused on entertainment and the news. And like what you said, Anthony, are you opening your Bible? Are people really opening their Bible, or are they getting it regurgitated from someone in the pulpit too afraid to say truth? So really, you have to have this intention behind your faith to say, what's my part? Where's my own accountability for the state of my home, my kids' school, my church? And, we talk about this a lot because there's this massive distraction of this global issue. I mean, we're talking about Ukraine, and your kid is going out the door with a mask on, how about you fight your own doorstep?
Who cares about Ukraine?
How about how about we fight what we can put our hands to, what God says, use what's in your hands, right?
That's so good. A lot of times over the last maybe 3 weeks, when news has reached out to kind of get us on there, they ask, okay, we're going to bring you on. We want you to talk about Russia and Ukraine. And I'm like, do you guys have no clue about what's going on in California? Do you not realize that there's a war waging in California?
There's a bigger war going on.
There's a war on. There's an attack and a full frontal assault on the family, on our kids. It's taking place at school.
Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, that's big tech censorship right there.
No.
Yes, hon, there's a full war waging on our children, and he gets cut off. Seth Leibson is waving to us right now. Oh my gosh, he's being so cute. But he's not wrong. This is what irritates me more than anything. We've got the news saying, let's bring on a politician that has a platform on the family beliefs, traditional families, faith-based. Let's talk about Ukraine. It's like, there is a war happening in our country. Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. But no, we're so worried about what's going on in Ukraine, and we don't even know what's going on in Ukraine. We don't.
No, we don't.
We can't trust the news.
You know what? This is the truth. Absolutely. You're so right, Lindsay.
I'm so
you
right.
are
She is so right.
She's so right, you guys. Because when people want me to give an opinion about Ukraine, how in the world can we? How in the world can we trust anything that's coming through that box in our house to tell us what's happening in Ukraine? Mm-hmm. You guys, I don't know if those videos are true. I don't know who's corrupt, who's not corrupt. I don't know. But I do know that my kid wouldn't be going to school with a mask. I do know that when I'm walking in the airport and there's kids having plastic shields over babies' faces that are 3 months old and they're crying in these plastic shields, my heart is broken. What can we do? We can do what we can do in our homes. If every single person took care of the territory that they have, we would not be in this state. Turn those TVs off.
And taking authority where you are does not mean changing your stupid social media profile picture to any sort of flag. That is not action. It didn't save Black lives. It's not going to save Ukraine. It's what do they call it? Signaling.
It's
virtue signaling.
It's I'm a good person.
Yeah, and that is not.
I'm a good person. You know what? Not impressed.
Do not do your acts before men, but do them before God so that he will praise you. Changing your profile picture only tells people you're pretending to take action. You need to actually take action.
Mm-hmm. The only thing it tells me is who not to friend.
We'll be back to scold you more with the She's So Right show.
Hey guys, we're back. You're listening to the She's So Right show. We have gubernatorial candidate for California, Anthony Trimino, who now I'm a super big fan.
Woo! Anthony, that means
anyone
a lot.
in California, you guys listen up. This is big. This is big time. So Anthony, we've been talking about, the church's responsibility to step in and be a part of this public square conversation, vote, register, stop being apathetic. This is important. This is our I believe, God-given right and duty. But why you became this passionate man about America and about California, I read in your bio, your grandparents fled Cuba during Castro's revolution. I want to hear a little bit about your childhood and why you are taking on this leadership role now.
Yeah, I'll tell you kind of a little bit about my past and how I ended up here. So my grandfather fled communist Cuba in the 50s. He came to California. He could only afford one plane ticket, so he had to leave his 3 daughters and my pregnant grandmother behind.
Wow.
He was here for 6 months. He finally saved up enough to bring them. My father was 6 months old at the time, and my grandfather, having just left Cuba, knew that he wanted to be independent from the government, so he became an entrepreneur, started a small little metal finishing company in South Central LA. That company still exists today. It's 60 years old. My father now runs it. When I was 18, I thought I would take over the family business, but I only worked there for 3 months before my father told me I was fired. And he told me I needed to find my own way, which I did. About a year later, I met my wife. We've been together for 26 years, have 5 beautiful children, 4 biological, 1 adopted. And we had humble beginnings. We were eating hamburger helper without the meat, had a cardboard box for a coffee table, a plastic dining set. And I was too proud to ask my dad for help. She was too proud to ask her dad for help. So we had very, very humble beginnings. But I, like my grandfather, wanted a better life for my family. So 20 years ago, this last November, I started a small little company in a 200 square foot office. I built that company up over the next 20 years with hard work and a lot of God's good grace into what Inc. magazine just named one of the fastest growing privately held companies in the nation.
Woo,
and I did that thank you. I did that in the height of a pandemic in 2020 is when we got that distinction. And so I was in a good place coming into 21, and then I started to see what was happening in California: critical race theory, gender studies, businesses closed, churches closed, crime, homelessness, all that. I was ready to go to Florida, and my wife told me, "Look, you need to think about what you're leaving behind." And I saw California as a burning building that I needed to get away from. But God opened my eyes, and when I looked at California again, He showed me the burning building, but He showed me 40 million people trapped inside.
Wow.
So after a month long of prayer and conversation, He basically gave me a word. He said, "You need to run back into that burning building and save as many people as you can."
Wow.
And so that was for us a run for governor. I never intended on being a politician. I still don't want to be a politician, but a politician is not going to come save us. So that's why I'm running. And I think that California doesn't just need a governor, it needs a CEO, fifth largest economy on the planet. And it also needs somebody who has a personal tie to this fight, a father, husband, small business owner, grandson of an immigrant who fled communism. I basically have what I believe California needs today to get out of this rut that we're in.
That is so amazing. I think Linz and I both have chills. We're just, what a beautiful vision God gave you, that if everybody runs away, who's going to put out the fire, right? But this is okay. Ready for this hot seat question? How do you feel about Trump?
Oh.
What do you think about Trump running again, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Trump was the nation's, excuse my French, but middle finger to the establishment. What people were doing, they were saying we'd had enough of politics, enough of politicians. We're going to send in a bull into a china shop. And I think that's what the 2016 race was a big middle finger to the establishment. I also think that he had a unique opportunity to pivot and to become, I think he became at one point slightly tone deaf to the audiences that he was speaking to. And here's what I say about him. When he came into office, he had 1,000 guns pointing at him. And unfortunately, throughout his presidency, I think knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously, he kept dropping bullets on the floor, giving them ammunition.
Oh, wow, that's good.
To fire,
great analogy.
to continue to fire at him. And so the guns were pointed, but he gave them ammunition. And I think ultimately he just miscalculated the public's perception of some of his messaging. And that's why I think that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, California, the politics in California are begging for somebody like that to take office, but it's going to be somebody that is a little bit more sensitive to messaging, platform, and the nuances that exist. And I think that based on my platform, my experience, who I am, I think that I'll be able to provide that.
Absolutely. And you know what I think about Trump is we all agree that God does what he does for a purpose and for a reason, and he puts people in their place, in the places that they're at for a purpose. And I think Trump is what shook everything up. Trump is who started waking America up, because anyone who, I wasn't even political, anyone who's not even political but was paying attention would go, well, why is he a racist? Well, hold on. Best friend's black, nominated the first black Supreme Court justice because he did that, and Biden shot it down. Right now, Biden's trying to take credit for nominating the first black Supreme Court justice. It's like, wait, I'm not even political, but I can see that doesn't really make sense. And his position is not to save America. That's God's job. But it was, I believe, you're right, the middle finger to the establishment saying, we are done playing your stupid games. We the people want to run things. And this guy just showed a lot of people that a normal person, not a politician, can run this country better than a politician.
Normal. I don't know if he was normal.
He did something incredible for the country. He was so disruptive that what he did was he brought down the curtain and allowed people to see the inner workings of politics, and he exposed it for what it was. And I think people will be forever grateful for the fact that he was absolutely essential to expose the corruption that exists. And he did. He woke a lot of people up and inspired a lot of people to actively get involved now.
Yeah, and I don't think he had enough time. I think his plan eventually was to expose a lot more, but they came in and cheated, and they got him out as quickly as they could.
Exactly. I mean,
we had 4 more years of exposure. We wouldn't need a waking up. We would be woke up.
Well, so my thought is, do you want him to win this time? And because, I mean, I have something to say about that. But what is your thought? Do you want him to win?
I think he's going to run. I think he has an incredible chance to win. I think he has now had the 4 years to recalibrate, recalculate, and honestly think that everybody on the left is regretting their decision now, and they are begging for offensive tweets again.
I know, yeah.
Oh, amen.
In exchange for what we're living through, right?
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about the company that's growing so quickly. What is it? The advertising company?
Yeah, so I run an ad agency. So we do, the traditional TV, radio, print, outdoor, everything online. We basically help brands communicate to their consumers. So we do branding, we do messaging globally, and we work with Fortune 500 companies and startups that are just at the grassroots, funding level. So we get an opportunity to work with some of the most innovative minds in the world.
Like radio hosts. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Well, you guys are fire. I'm so glad we connected because I think you guys are absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you. Well, we think you're amazing too.
Well, will you spread the word? You're really good at that. Thanks.
Well, say it louder. People in the back.
Hey, your next airplane.
Can you do a big banner for us?
Big banner. She's So Right Show is awesome.
So real fast, I don't know how much more time we have, but you're in the Hollywood realm. I spend some time in California a couple times a year because I have lots of ritzy friends, and I just want your opinion too. We talked about the church being active. What do you think Hollywood is? What do you think how they're contributing to good or bad? What do you see in the Hollywood? How do you handle the Hollywood thing? You're an LA guy, so tell me your feelings about that as a Christian too.
Yeah, here's the thing about Hollywood. I've never seen Hollywood so quiet as they have been over the last year and a half. It's interesting, isn't it? Hollywood likes to be incredibly political and out front of things. And I have just seen them retract and kind of hibernate and go away from touching upon it because I think they were huge advocates for our current president, and I think they understand the world that we're living in now. We're not safer globally.
Nope.
We're not doing better nationally, and I think that they don't really have much to say about it. But I do believe wholeheartedly that Hollywood is a conduit for messaging, and I think they need to wake up. I think they need to realize the influence they have in society, and I think they need to, and we're seeing a lot of it when the mandates came in and it attacked Hollywood, and a lot of people in Hollywood were being fired, not being able to get jobs because of non-compliance. They have formed groups like Hollywood for Freedom that are standing up and creating a second Hollywood for people who are awake now and understand that mandates don't work for anyone. So I think we're going to see a lot more of Hollywood coming out, Hollywood movies, Hollywood production companies, and celebrities that are going to come out now and advocate for quality of life versus politics.
Well, they are their own village. It's like, a lot of people don't want to come out with their conservative beliefs or stand up or speak up for anything because they're afraid of getting canceled. And I say, well, if we all did it together, well, then now we're talking about millions of people and no one's doing it. Well, they weren't. Hollywood, if they all just came together and said, we run this show, we run this town, let's all rise up, it would change so many things in this
because
country.
they actually have power. I mean,
if they would use that power for good. Yep.
Yeah.
The only time
power, money, and influence, and those three things together, working for good, can actually create change.
And if you notice, there was no shortage of words when it was time to blast Trump and take down Trump. It's kind of that old, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. All they wanted to do was say the mean things about Trump. Well, now that they realized how wrong they they can't say anything nice about Trump, but they can't say anything bad about Biden. They're just
And
silent.
that's why Hollywood is silent right now. There's not
They all
much
voted.
to
They
say.
all voted for him and encouraged him.
It
And now
has to be
they've got their tail between their legs.
It's got to be completely embarrassing. I mean, every time, but I mean, this is so bad, but every time Biden, which now we have a nickname, Peepaw, takes the microphone. I mean, it's. I actually feel so. It's so embarrassing, but it's bigger than that. It's not just a joke. It's affecting the globe. It's affecting people in a very personal way when we have a weak president. It is affecting families all around the world in a deep, deep way. And so it's we can make a joke because I always say if you can't laugh, you'll cry. You know, I mean, it's that bad. When it comes to the Hollywood scene, are you getting any support there?
Yeah, so it's funny. Through our relationship with some of those organizations, grassroots that have sprouted up, they're pulling a lot of celebrities who have kids in school, who are seeing the impact of the mandates, finally standing up and saying, you know what, we can't stay silent anymore. I'm already not getting jobs because I'm not vaccinated or I'm standing up for my bodily autonomy. I might as well come out and start to be vocal. And we are going to be announcing in the next few weeks some alliances with some Hollywood people. One big whale that I'm hoping will come aboard and basically advocate not just for me running, but really for what I'm running for, which is quality of life and freedom and everything my grandfather fled communist Cuba to pursue.
Would you say that you're an America First candidate?
Yeah, so I say this all the time. I'm a California First candidate because I believe that there's warfare being waged on our streets, and that's where my focus is. But, I mean, you got to understand, my grandfather who came from Cuba, he made sure that our first language was English. He was a proud American. He hung an American flag up in his house, not the Cuban flag. My other grandfather's Mexican, and he didn't hang a Mexican flag. It was an American flag because they were patriotic and they understood how important it was to embrace America.
Thank
Anthony,
you so much.
we have to have you back because I'm like obsessed with your story. I want to hear more about what you think about border crime, all the things. So we'll have you on again. God bless you
Love
all.
it.
Thanks, guys. Follow Anthony on Instagram at @Trimino, and his website is anthonytrimino.com. God bless America.